Part 2, Feast of Tabernacles and the Day of Atonement. Unlocking the mysteries of the feasts of the Lord from a Messianic perspective. I'm saying Messianic. I know there's a lot of different Messianic type things, and I'm not like plugging myself in a particular Hebrew roots, Torah keeping, Messianic, whatever. I don't like using the word Christian because it's gotten kind of a bad connotation with a lot of people because of the way people act sometimes. I've got flies flying all over the place. But anyway, we're going to just kind of discuss some basics here. And I didn't feel like doing anything with my hair today, so I've got a hanky going on here. And anyway, hi, I'm Donita with Prairie-trail.com. And like I said, flies, they know their end is coming. So they're trying to come out with a vengeance. It's a little bit warmer today. And they're like, let's run around everywhere. So anyway, without further ado, hopefully I can do this screen share. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. This is looking a little better. Hopefully, I'm trying to get better at this kind of stuff. So, the Day of Atonement. So we talked in part 1 about the Feast of Trumpets. And it's the day that nobody knows the day or the hour except for the Father, because it's the first day of the month and the first sliver of the new moon has to be sighted to know when it starts. So it's kind of like, and all of a sudden, and the way I understand it traditionally, when it's sighted, then they all they blow the trumpets, everybody stops what they're doing, they go get cleaned up, put on white clothes, and have a feast. And so it's kind of similar to when Jesus comes back and the trumpet of the Lord shall sound and time shall be no more, and we will meet him in the air and be given our new glorified bodies. So that's what the Feast of Trumpets is about. And so now we have 10 days later, on the 10th day of the 7th month of the Hebrew year, we have the Day of Atonement. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, now on the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. It shall be for you a time of holy convocation, and you shall afflict yourselves and present a food offering to the Lord, and you shall not do any work on that very day, for it is a day of atonement to make atonement for you before the Lord our God. Okay, and this can be found in Leviticus 23. So afflict yourself in the concordance number 6031, Anah, I may not be saying that right. It means to be bowed down or afflicted. Jewish tradition today is that they have a day of fasting, studying, and prayer. So our family usually does try to fast that day. But it doesn't necessarily say that's what you have to do. It's like bowed down or afflicted. It doesn't say a day of fasting. Oops, I guess that's it. So the scripture is pretty open on what you do and don't do. There's like it's a food offering, so you're doing the barbecue thing, right? And then so what's the barbecue for? Maybe food for the next day or something. Yeah. And so anyway, you can kind of decide how you want to do that. If you want to do it in a traditional Jewish way, or because they do have some interesting things that they do for the Day of Atonement. So you can look into that. And again, I suggest Robin Sampson's book, The Family Guide to the Biblical Holidays or something like that. I'll make sure that there's a link. I put a link to that in the last video the part 1 as well. So, you know, Day of Atonement, kind of a special day. We're just told we're not supposed to work. Okay. So again, it's kind of hard these days, especially if it's in the middle of the week or something, to get the day off. If you can work it out, you know, where you can kind of plan to have a day off, then that's wonderful. You know, if you can't, then the Lord knows we're trying, right? We're learning and we're trying. So let's just kind of leave it at that, right? Okay. The next is the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles. Leviticus 23 again shares what we should we should be spending the 8 days in tents, okay, temporary dwellings. And that is to remind us that this is not our home. And we are here temporarily. The kingdom of God is our home. The earth is not our home. So we shouldn't be getting too terribly comfortable and trying to keep up with the Joneses and whatnot, because this isn't our home. It's temporary, right? So I think the tiny house movement and stuff is to me, that is very biblical. You know, and Bedouins that are moving around with their sheep and stuff, the Native Americans who traveled with the teepees and things, that's very, very biblical. It's not that farming and being in one place isn't, but just remembering that this is our temporary home, it helps to keep things in perspective, I think. So, and then Numbers 29 gives us a day-to-day account of the sacrifices given. So it's like, you know, the barbecue menu is what it's got here for a congregation, right? So, you know, you can kind of decide. It's like, you know, it's laid out in the Bible to have a menu, something special for each day, right? Each day has got something special that you're doing for 8 whole days. So you're out in tents, you're cooking out, you're doing the whole camping thing, basically. And then Deuteronomy 16 discusses the party and what, you know, that everybody is supposed to join in, whether it's servants or what. And wouldn't it be nice if here in America, we had a whole week that everybody got to take off and enjoy? I mean, there's always the doctors, of course, there's going to be a baby born or something. This is the time, I mean, that a lot of people believe that Yeshua, Jesus, was born, was during Tabernacles, and that he was born in one of these tents. Could be Feast of Trumpets. I don't know. It was definitely in the fall with the sheep being out in the pasture at night and the shepherds being out at night. They're not going to be out there in the middle of winter. So it was definitely a fall time thing. Okay, it is called Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. And I usually don't get into like the Hebrew words because I'm not Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew, and we understand things. You know, if you're speaking English, you understand things in English. But this Sukkot actually comes from the name sukkah, which means a thicket or a booth. Okay. And the booths are supposed to have like palm fronds on the tops of them. It was kind of a specific thing. We don't have palms out here, palm trees out here in Northwest Oklahoma. So that is not the way that we would be doing ours. We just usually do tents, right? I have tried to buy a kind of put together scenario, and I'll show you a picture. But Oklahoma wind is not friendly to those kinds of things. So booths, canopies, huts, pavilions, shelters, temporary shelters. So that's where that comes from. So whenever you hear about the Feast of Sukkot, that's what it is. It's the tabernacles. A sukkah is a tent, a booth, a canopy, a pavilion type of thing. And you can make them in all kinds of different ways. Here is, we had bought something similar to this made out of like plastic pipe. Yeah, it did not last the whole 8 days at all, period, end of story. Oklahoma wind. You might actually be able to, I don't know if you can hear it outside, but it's blowing like a banshee right now. Here's a whole bunch of them that they put out, and then people, I'm assuming people go out and rent these or something to have these booths. Here's one that somebody's decorated. They're often decorated with fun. Here they've got sheets and things going around, just like their little balcony thing. So that's a neat idea. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to make this work. And the idea is just to kind of be out there and remember the time that the Israelites spent in the wilderness, and remember at some point in time Yeshua is going to come get us from the life that we're struggling through here. So we generally use this time to decorate the house for fall and get autumn scents going through the house, like candles. I start, boiling stuff on the stove and get yummy smells going through the house. I put the pumpkins and things in the background here because, the pumpkin spice stuff going on. So I like to just get those warm, cozy autumn scents. We usually end up turning on the fireplace, getting the fireplace kind of going around this time of the year, because it just now is really starting to get cool here in Oklahoma. And we will still end up having our 80-degree days, but we probably won't have very many, if any, 90-degree days. There could be. It's Oklahoma. We can have like 5 seasons in one day. But it can get down to freezing at this point too. And the closer we get to the end of October, we could end up with a snowstorm. So it's Oklahoma, right? And this is just kind of a time to remember that the earth is not our home. The kingdom of God is. So, we'll pick out some fun movies to watch. We'll have some fun things to eat. We really like pies, cookies, things like that. And we just have fun, right? What we don't do, happy Sukkot, don't overdo it. I just thought this was an adorable picture and I just had to share it. We don't do Halloween. Our oldest daughter married a man who has fun doing stuff like that, and they live in town where there's trick-or-treaters that come and they hand out tracts and things like that. I'm not judging. We're out in the country. We don't get trick-or-treaters out here, so I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff out here. We usually watch, something fun that evening, or we might read Dracula. I like that book. To me, it's one of the best Christian books you can, and I know that there's argument about whether or not Mary Shelley was maybe a schmishmishin or something like that, but it was written in a time when Christian, there was just everything was much more Christian than it is today. And it's a really interesting story. And I like the way it's written, like in letters. I have my letter writing course that I think handwritten letters are very special and we need to bring that back. So obviously I have a letter writing challenge if you would like to join and learn how to write letters. I think writing letters to your congressman and stuff is very important as well. So anyway, so we do different things each year. So, but we don't do jack-o'-lanterns. I may get Catherine on here to kind of talk about some of the symbology of different things. If we go back into history and then we go back before that history and we see, okay, what did God actually create and what was the basis that God gave us? And then how have people twisted that through time, and then how has it ended up today? And I think that history is very important. God created pumpkins, so pumpkins are good. So, if you want to decorate around your house with pumpkins, that's great. Whether or not you're doing it into like a jack-o'-lantern type thing, now that I would be really careful with that, This is adorable though, and I won't take the time to do it because I'm too lazy to do stuff like that. But it's cute. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. And the fall magazine is coming out. So I wanted to remind you guys, this is the new cover Faith has made. You might be following her. I'll put a link in the description to her stuff. She is an excellent photographer, and then she does jewelry and stuff, like Western type jewelry, and just I'm excited to have her work on the cover of the magazine. We have another photographer that is doing that we've got some pictures we're going to be putting in this time as well, and I enjoy those kinds of contributions to the magazine. I'm not a photographer. I enjoy taking pictures, but I don't have the eye that a professional photographer has, and I love having some of that beautiful artwork in the magazine. The magazine's going to have how to break generational curses and traditional things, doing traditions, making traditions, and gift ideas. Preparing for VBAC is one of them, some history. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff in there. So I definitely suggest that you check that out. With the October holidays coming, I also wanted to mention, if you're still here, I also wanted to mention I'm going to start something in my Patreon about witchcraft, specifically, and how people have misconstrued what it is and take it from a biblical perspective. I was raised New Age, so paganism, witchcraft. I was raised to be a Native American medicine woman. So, and yes, I know I'm low on melanin, but I had a dear Messianic friend tell me that I had just exactly as much melanin as the dear Lord wanted me to have. So I may not look like people think traditional Native American people need to look, but I am Native American on both sides of the family. So there's that. Anyway, yeah, so if you are interested in studying that kind of stuff, pew warmers today and the idea of what witchcraft is dangerously messed up in what people think there is. And some pew warmers today are actually practicing a form of witchcraft without knowing it. And it worries me. And so I feel like we do need to discuss it from a biblical perspective. But I want it to be, I don't want to just put a video on YouTube with this type of thing. I want it to actually be a discussion where I can answer questions and we can really delve deeply into a subject like that, because I don't think it should be done lightly. So anyway, if that's something that you're interested in, the Patreon is down in the description, and check it out and let me know if that's something that you're interested in. So anyway, I will let this go. Next week is going to be a video on my favorite books for homesteading type things. And it's a collab with Roots and Refuge that she is doing on good books that we suggest. And some of mine are like books that my grandfather suggested. So I definitely suggest checking that out. I've got it on Premiere, so I think you can hit that and have it let you know whenever it's going to be coming out. So anyway, and then I've got some potential other collaborative things coming up that I'm kind of excited about. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed, like, share, all the good stuff, and let me know what you guys think about the Fall Feast of the Lord and what I've brought up here. I'm just covering this very, very lightly. I'm sure some of you have got a lot more information, a lot more ideas on it. And I'm always open. I love you guys' comments. Y'all are an intelligent and very, very polite group of people. And I really, really appreciate that. It's a wonderful community that is here. So I'm appreciating that a lot. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've been running between the 665 to 667 subscribers. It keeps going back and forth with that 666 in there. And I was like, oh my goodness, am I ever going to get that past that point? So yeah, find a video that you think people would enjoy and please share it out. And maybe we can get past that hump. So anyway, remember, you can make it through the dust storms of life with God's divine help.